bit insight of how cool it was to be a Buffalonian and a Buffalo Bill during the time we went to 4 straight Super Bowls. I got to tell you, Scotty, he did us all a favor. I got to tell you, I know it's sacrilegious to say this. I had so much fun losing 4 Super Bowls. I had such a blast, and it's all thanks to Scotty's good start. He kicked for us in Super Bowl 26 too, and he was perfect. Of course, the rest of us sucked. Particularly Andre. Well, how about Tyrone apologizing to Thurman for making a helmet joke? Really? What? You're the first guy. The first guy. And the story about, them being in the bathtub and Andre pooping in the bathtub. That was last week. Wack and I, we spent a couple of days back before the Super Bowl. We were in Napa before the wine authorities kicked us out. Have you ever gone drinking with Daryl? Oh my God! The rest of us are going to donate our brains to the scientific research. They want his liver. Unbelievable. Trip to remember. It was me and Daryl and some people you don't know. I'm going to talk to, I guess I should start in on Andre at some point. See, now Andre and I played wide as well. I played wide receiver 6 days a week, never on game day. So I was in all the meetings with Andre. We were in the same room together, the two of us and the rest of the wide receiving corps for 11 and a half years we were together. Same room, same meeting every day. We sat next to each other. We were close. So, I really can't say anything about Andre because I really have a good reputation in town. And Andre gets to speak after me. So Andre was the greatest. And we did have a lot in common. Andre had stadiums, streets, fields named after him. I have 3 Chihuahuas and a miniature poodle. He went to DeRuff High School. DeRuff High School. DeRuff. It was such a tough high school, their high school newspaper had an obituary column. It's true. But I just want to say, when I got to Buffalo, now let me tell you this quick story. So I got drafted by the Houston Oilers. I related this to somebody earlier. I got drafted by the Houston Oilers and played for a year for them. And then my second year, which happened to be Andre's second year as well, I got picked up mid-season by the Buffalo Bills from the Houston Oilers. So I come up and I got picked up so late in the week off waivers that I didn't get a chance to practice or suit up or even go to the stadium at all. The first time I sat down in the room as a member of the Buffalo Bills was the night before Marv Levy's first game as head coach. The first pre-game meeting before Marv Levy era began. I was the first new player on the Buffalo Bills when Marv Levy took over, after Marv Levy took over. So I walked into that room. I had to ask to be let in. And I sat in the back. And Marv started to talk. Marv got up, and this was a team that had been 2-14 and 2-14, and they stunk so bad in the next year that they finally fired the guy. So they hired Marv. So the guys in this room were a little bit beat up. You know, Andre's sitting there, and when Marv stood up to talk, it was like, wow, this guy's got a plan. This guy knows, wow, he's prepared. He knows what he's doing. I can get behind that guy. This is great. And as Marv kept speaking to us about what we were going to start to do and the kind of team we were going to be, the kind of players he wanted, the kind of men he knew we could be, you could feel the room energized. You could feel the team come together. And as he said that, the guys were starting to sit up taller in their seats. They were kind of energized by it. And finally, partway through his speech, Marv said, we're going to get better. We're going to bring some players in here. We're going to help us. In fact, we got a new player from the Houston Oilers, Steve Tasker. He's going to cover kicks for us more. Steve, in the back, Steve, stand up. And all these guys are going, yeah, new movement, new team, new player. Who is this guy? And they turned around, and I stood up. You can feel the disappointment.